So let's take a look deeper at what it says here. So Bitcoin is pledged as collateral and can be rehypothecated. This is another way that possibly it could be making some money. If it is rehypothecated, people will be borrowing that or using that in some way and maybe paying to have access to that Bitcoin. Repledged or otherwise deployed by Coinbase. So Coinbase is actually the one in control of the Bitcoin at this point, and there would be a legal contract where Coinbase actually says this is GameStop's Bitcoin, but we're using it in this way to generate some sort of yield off of it. So this is when they started their covered call strategy by the looks of it. As of January 31st, 2026, we had outstanding covered call option contracts referencing approximately 4,709 Bitcoin, with strike prices ranging from 105,000 to 110,000 and maturities extending through March 27, 2026. There's an approximation of how much Bitcoin, there's a range of strike prices, and there's maturities or option contracts expiring through March 27, 2026. So that means that they probably had different dates that have already been expiring. So what it looks like is left over is these contracts resulted in a derivative liability of 0.7 million as of January 31st, 2026. So this means that there's still $0.7 million worth on the buyer's side of the covered call strategy. So those contracts don't just go to zero until basically they expire worthless. Like they expire worthless because they're only good till a certain date. And if the underlying share price, or in this case, the underlying Bitcoin price, doesn't reach the strike price, then they're not worth exercising in any ability at all. So they expire at nothing. So there is still some value to the current contracts by the look of it. And it's 0.7 million. This has been a better strategy for GameStop at this current moment in time compared to of not doing that. And you can see here the current assets and associated unrealized gain of approximately 2.3 million for the period. So the value of the contracts they sold have gone down 2.3 million, and they're still worth 0.7. So they initially sold these contracts for $3 million worth. And if they closed out all their contracts, they would have to pay 700,000 or 0.7 million, but in total, they would have made 2.3 million from that. So likely they're just going to allow these to expire worthless and continue to do this. But this has been remarked on way after the fact, right? January 1st, this is way after the fact. So we're kind of seeing things as they've been successful. Now, the thing here, right, is this is sort of when things can go right. This is Bitcoin's price has gone down since then. They sold these out of the money, and they are not needing to give their Bitcoin away at a certain strike price, which can happen. So the downside of selling covered calls is if they had these strike prices at, say, 105,000, and in this time frame Bitcoin went to 150,000, there's the ability to roll and there's the ability to kind of push out things and kind of do this kind of stuff. But for simplicity's sake, you would want to be the buyer in that situation, not the seller. So GameStop is the seller of these contracts. And at that point, if they allowed those contracts to be exercised, the buyer of the contract would be able to buy their Bitcoin from them because of the option contract they bought at $105, even though Bitcoin is worth $150,000. And 105,000 is what I meant to say. So you definitely don't want to be a covered call seller if the price rapidly appreciates. So it says here a portion of the covered call options contracts expired unexercised, and in the related pledge collateral continues to be held by Coinbase. So Coinbase still holds the Bitcoin. The contracts expired. Some of them still exist, right? $0.7 million worth of contracts are still outstanding by the looks of it. And Bitcoin basically just has to stay under the $105,000 by tomorrow. I'm recording this on the 26th. The options contracts expire on the 27th. So I think they'll be good.